So we're just up at what's called the riverbank, which is a real old part of the Arklow history. I haven't been up here in absolutely years. This was a great place to come up and play when you were coming home from school, you know, back in like the early 80s. But it was it's just you'd never really be up here, you know. I didn't realise that it's a bit off the beaten track, you know. So it's I've forgotten how, Jesus, it's absolutely lovely up here. Like of course it helps that we've actually finally got some nice weather, of course. So up there you can see St. Saviour's and the little trainal tracks, as we used to call them. I'd say Pierce Park, or the dog track as we would call it, is on the other side of that rise there. It's actually, Pierce Park is actually one of Wicklaw's county grounds for the absolute bottom feeder fixtures. Anyway, so I just finished reading Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace, and you know, it's a book I'd wanted to read for years, and I was like really wondering, would this be worthwhile? You know, it's a formidably long book, you know, and it might be full of a lot of kind of mid-90s sort of boomer, you know, crap. Stuff I'd be very alienated from these days. But I'd have to say it is certainly one of the best books I've ever read. It's just a phenomenal bit of writing. David Foster Wallace's imagination and his ability to articulate in prose what his imagination was able to conjure is just staggering, just absolutely staggering. Like if you're of a kind of a philosophical bent at all, as people in our circles so often are, I would say it's absolutely essential reading. It really diagnoses the malady of modernity. I mean, probably the central theme of the book is addiction, and to an extent, recovery from addiction, and not just predictably, you know, drugs and alcohol, but addiction to entertainment. It's a major theme in the book. It got an absolute galaxy of characters, which is very hard to keep track of, but which is why it's described as a difficult book to read. But they all are, in one manner or another, addicted, you know, to either drink or drugs, or, you know, sex or relationships or entertainment. Entertainment being, of course, the sort of the catch-all addiction, because it's probably the most important one. It's the addiction to self-distraction, so you don't have to think about your life. Why are people addicted? It's because they've very, very profound personal, you know, psychic problems or mental health problems, or they've been very, very abused by life, or they feel they have. And very, very importantly, people have been grievously let down by parents who did an absolutely dreadful job of rearing said addict. So you'd think that would be, you know, kind of make for grim reading, but it's also a very, very funny book in places. It's great, so witty, so clever. maybe that kind of writing flair would turn some people off. I don't know. But you know, for example, like famously, the book has about 150 pages of end notes that you constantly have to keep referring to. You know, just a reading tip would be to have 2 bookmarks, by the way. But some of the end notes are just literally just kind of clarifying some technical point of some extremely, you know, complex-headed bit of technology or chemistry or something. But other notes are like short stories in themselves, and they're so clever. They're so clever. Just as an example, the character James in Candenza, Father of Hal. There's lots of parallels with Hamlet, by the way, and the Odyssey, actually. I told you it was for very clever people. He was a bit of an auteur, you know, in many regards, and there's about a 30-page fictitious filmography. It's so clever. It's hysterically funny in places. It provides quite a lot of plot exposition that you will come to realise as you plough through the 1,000 pages of the book. It provides quite a lot of, you know, very useful information explaining why things are happening. And it's a really deep delve into the absolute tortured psyche of James in Candenza, who had committed suicide. We never actually really get to interact with him all that much as a character. He's just referred to mostly in terms of his influence, his family, the effect he had on him. But there are a couple of chapters that are from the point of view of James with his father when he was growing up. He's only about 8 years of age, and you just get to see just how badly screwed up someone could get, having to endure a mouthy, opinionated, alcoholic father. You know, just absolutely incredible writing altogether. Again, described as a very difficult book to read. I like reading books, you know, and I don't have no problem ploughing through a long, abstract book. The main reason it's easy to read is because it's like really well written and entertaining. It's not a chore at all. In fact, you'll probably find yourself eking it out to try and make it last, actually. And I haven't even touched on the other principal character, Don Gately, a petty criminal from North Shore, Boston, a big hulking kind of a burglar slash heroin addict. Brilliant character, just utterly brilliant character. The exploration of halfway houses and recovering from addiction, critique of AA, not a bloody AA and their bloody religiousness. You know, Gately remarks that a year into his own recovery, he's like, I don't believe in any of this God or religious stuff, but I have to acknowledge that this is actually working. This is actually working, and it's a complete perplexing mystery to him. But that's a very heartening story of recovery from addiction within the book. Not that it's that straightforward. Formidably long. Might not be everyone's cup of tea, I would have to say. In my opinion, absolutely essential reading. Particularly, I think people in our sphere would get a lot out of it. David Foster Wallace might have been a bit of a, probably quite liberal, I would think, but I suspect, probably, even though the phrase didn't really exist back then, probably a bit more based than he would have let on had he been around in today's irritating times. Unfortunately, David Foster Wallace committed suicide in 2008, which is a real shame. And it's really demoralising, because a lad with that amount of insight into depression and addiction, and obviously having interacted positively with the recovery process, still had so much angst and mental health problems that he couldn't really resolve them. It's an awful shame. But he's left us, and I'm going to be tearing into the short stories and essays, because he's left us a really, really great body of work that's absolutely well worth anyone's time if you like reading it all. So now we're just going to sign off from the gently lapping waters of the Avoca River. It's been an absolutely bloody marvellous walk up the riverbank there, I have to say. And I'll definitely be coming back. Nearly broke my ankle there. I'll definitely be coming back if we can get like 2 days of good weather in a row. That would be nice, big guy, please. Thanks for listening.